So Maria, thank you. Everybody, welcome to another episode of Next in Line. I've been doing this, waiting this one for a while, right? Because of me, not because of Maria, right? We had some technical difficulties. So I said, you know what? We're going to come to Houston and do this live. I do want to mention one thing because I definitely believe it deserves a major shout out. Congratulations on becoming global CIO or league finalist, right?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I'm involved in Inspire. I'm in like 5 different chapters for the last, it's going on 3 years now. So
Nice.
I know that's a legit, to become a finalist, to me, you already won.
Oh, thank you.
I'm looking,
Appreciate
whatever
that.
happens,
Yeah.
you won.
It's an honor.
Yeah, and then it's like, we got the global, right? So that's like another level. I don't know if you collect trophies, but that's a good one, right? That's a killer one. So in that sense about you, and I'm sure the things that everything you did in your career to kind of get to that point, right? So if you don't mind, can you just do me a favor and kind of introduce yourself and like a little bit of like, how'd you start to like where you're at today? And then we'll fill in the gaps in the middle.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. Okay. So one thing you need to know about me is I am the youngest of 7 children. Yes, 7 Mexican immigrant family who came to the U.S. Back in 1961. I was a baby then.
You the babies?
Yeah, I was a baby of the 7. And, it's amazing that my father and mother took that chance to come with so many kids and start a life here. And they had formal education. We weren't college educated. They were just hard workers. And they worked hard their whole lives to give us a better living and a better life, and came to the U.S. because they believed that they could give us a better life here. I was always goal-oriented. If I look back at my life and told you about all of the things that I'm most proud of, accomplishments, they all had something to do with some goal that I had and what it took to achieve it. So there's an interesting characteristic. I had a career coach once talk to me, and she said, what that means, Maria, is that you need to stay out of maintenance work. You always want to be working on projects because you like things that have a beginning, things you see value in. You want to have a prominent role in it, but finish it, be done, and move on to the next thing. And that was me. Once I figured that out about myself, this was when I was working at Exxon, my career took off because I knew exactly what I needed to do. I needed to pursue projects, challenging work where I could be challenged and at the same time be recognized for doing a good job because it would have an end and there would be some deliverable that I would be handing over.
So that was kind of breakthrough.
It was a breakthrough in my career, yes. But what happened was I started out majoring in computer science. When I graduated from high school, I got married very young.
Okay.
And I graduated from high school and decided that I wasn't going to work. I wasn't going to go to school. I was going to go to work. And I went to work for a bank and then an accounting firm. I was just a typist, receptionist type person. But then at some point I realized, and I tell my husband this, working with people who had just graduated from college with accounting degrees was the best thing that could have happened to me because these people were so full of themselves and they really thought they were everybody's boss. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm every bit as smart as you are. You just have a degree and I don't. And I'm sitting here just listening to you and allowing you to talk to me this way.
Wow.
So I made up my mind then that I was going to go back to school.
See, a little chip on your shoulder, huh? I like that. I'm
going to go get a degree because I'm not going to live like this the rest of my life. So I went to school and got a 2-year degree in computer science at a community college. And then started working as a computer programmer. I was married to a Hispanic man who felt threatened by the fact that I was getting a degree and he wasn't, and had no interest in it in the first place. So he really wasn't in favor of me pursuing anything further. So I got a job as a computer programmer with a 2-year degree, and I worked for a CIO, worked for a school system. Okay. And at that point, that's when I thought to myself, someday I'm going to have that job, the CIO job.
Back then?
Yeah. So after my first professional job, I met a CIO, and I thought, someday I'm going to have her job. Everything you need to know about me is I've always been really ambitious.
Love that. I
always want to go to the next thing. So, in my late 20s, I got divorced from this man, and I had friends and mentors who came to my house and said, you have to go to school now. No one is stopping you. We're here to help you fill out the Pell Grant application.
Pell Grant.
One of them even filled out a letter of application to 2 different universities, one being Texas Tech.
Okay.
And said, to sign, all you have to do is sign. I'm sending it off for you.
Wow.
And they sent it off and sent the grant and sent off an application for a scholarship. And I got a scholarship at Texas Tech.
Congratulations. That's wow.
So,
That's
and that
so
was
fast, right?
with a 2-year degree, but I'd done really well. My grades were really good at the community college. So
Why I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. Damn, it's just, I bet you started smoke through grades, right? Like, I love it.
yeah, I graduated magna cum laude at Texas Tech. And then I stayed and got my MBA. But then I moved to Houston because Exxon hired me through the campus recruiting
Oh,
process.
okay.
So that's what got me to come to Houston, was to work for Exxon in their computing and network services company. I had been writing software. Remember, I got a 2-year degree and I was a computer programmer, is what we called ourselves back then.
What languages were you back then in that?
I was writing in RPG2, COBOL, and even Fortran. So that, and it actually helped me pay my way through school because the scholarships and grants only go so far.
Got 8,
Exactly. And I was, I was a single mom with 2 kids. And
You have 2 kids?
Yeah.
At the same time, and you went on to that?
Yeah. So it was.
Come on. I love that.
So anyway,
That story.
it was the toughest 4 years of my life, but I left here with a master's degree and went to work for Exxon in Houston. And, everything went well at Exxon, except I went to work for the infrastructure side of the house because I'd already been a software developer and I felt like I needed to go get the other piece. Again, someday I'm going to be a CIO, remember?
I
never lost sight of that.
Was it about the job that you saw that you liked it, or you just say, no, I'm going to get that job?
It was being the top person.
Top person.
Being the boss, and I might have had something to do with being the youngest in the family, never being anybody's boss. Saying, this is my opportunity. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I learned a lot at Exxon and eventually went to work for BP after Exxon. I did some consulting in between and then went to work at BP. And that's where I became CIO for the first time.
At BP?
Yes. And there's a funny story because I'd been there about not even 6 months, right? I was there as a delivery manager reporting to the business unit CIO. And the CIO was a British guy and he was being moved back to London for his next assignment. So he was looking for his replacement to be the CIO of that business unit. It was a challenging business unit. It was the energy trading, North America trading. So, the users are all traders and they can be really tough customers, as you know.
A little bit.
Right.
From New York.
You know what it's like. So, but anyway, he was moving on and I went in his office and very boldly said to him, I just joined. I don't know the company that well, but I think I can do your job. And so in 3 years, when you rotate this next person out, I want you to know I'm going to be applying for the job. And so he just laughed and said, okay, sounds good to me. And then, I left. No, it's
okay.
wherever you are. Okay, bye. And the next day he called me and he said, why don't you apply for the job anyway? You're going to go through all the interview process. We're interviewing about 15 people, but it'll give you the experience that you need. If you really are interested in taking the job in 3 years, go through the interview process and you'll know what it's going to be like and what you need to work on, etc. So I did. I filled out the application, went through all these interviews and a ton of them. They even do a psychological interview by an outside company.
It's a big company.
And then they called me in and said, I have the job.
So wait. So you said, I'll be ready in 3 years. Yeah. Give him I like that shot. I'm going to give him a shout out. Because that's not...
that was Andy Smith.
Andy Smith, if you listen or when you listen to this one, shout out to you, man. That's a good vision and a great call, great instincts. Because you're not every day you would walk in an office like that and say that determined. He saw something.
Yeah, he did.
And he went through it and he probably hit out, you shot every shot. So that's pretty... I know you are, but you're feeling thought of that. After that, you kind of
I worked at Exxon. So again, I went to work at Exxon. I wasn't your typical 22-year-old. I was actually 32 when I joined Exxon because I'd been working as a program and gone back to school and all this stuff. So, but I was still brought in as a college hire at that same level that they bring in people with a master's degree.
Okay.
And so pretty soon after working there a few years, I realized that the people that I really thought were my peers that had about the same level of experience, just not as many years at Exxon, were several levels above me, at least 2 or 3 levels, promotion levels above me, because I was brought in as a college recruit. So after I'd been there 7 years, I was getting promoted as often as their kind of HR rules allowed. So I did get some promotions while I was there, and I always ranked really high because they have forced ranking there.
Very formal.
Very formal, very formal. But But at about 7 years, I got lured away by a .com company. And I went to my boss and said, look, the reason I'm leaving is that I will never catch up. Your HR rules, I'm never going to catch up with the people that I believe are my peers in the industry. But, because you guys brought me in at a lower level. And so they said, well, what will it take for you to stay? And I said, I will stay if you give me a double promotion. Talked to the division manager, came back and said, he said, no, we'll promote you now, and they will promote you again a year from now, assuming that everything goes well, but he's not going to give you the double one right now. And I said, well, in a year, he might be gone, and you guys will forget that you said this, if you're not willing to put it in writing. And so that's what I left. That's what happened. I left, but it was the best thing that could have happened to me because, I worked for 3 years for a consulting firm. It got bought out by a bigger one. And after 3 years, I left and went to BP. And soon after that, so 10 years out of college, I was a CIO of a BP division.
That's extremely fast. That's usually you kind of see that when startup, like somebody becomes CIO in like 2 years and they just got out of school, like that's startup BE and stuff like that. But like, let me ask you, I want to dig into that little intro, that 3-year thing, right?
Right.
You said consulting.
Yes.
I think that's very important.
Yeah, it was a good experience. It was a company that had been started by some guys that had left Ernst & Young, started their own consulting practice. It was called Inform. And within probably a year and a half of me being there, and I came in as a senior manager, and maybe a year and a half into it, a company called SunGard Data Systems. They were very, very big at one time, had a lot of software that they owned for companies. They acquired Inform, and we became part of the SunGard companies. For the next year and a half, my job became going around different SunGard projects, fixing broken projects that they had. Oh. And that actually got me another promotion.
Exposure.
And exposure, because I did well at kind of repairing or straightening out projects that were not going well. By the way, when I left Texon, I was a program manager and I had 10 project managers reporting to me. Back to the I like projects. I did it really well.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're crushing it.
So I did well at SunGard as well. But at the end of 3 years, I left, and right after that, I joined BP.
That's phenomenal.
And I stayed at BP 5 years.
Stayed at BP 5 years. Yes. How long BP for? Like, what was your tour? Like, how long?
5 years. I was at BP for 5 years.
5 years.
So 4 years as a CIO. The first year I was there as a delivery manager.
4 years, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Awesome. So then after BP.
Right. After BP, so at this point, I'm like in my piece, and I thought I always wanted to start my own company.
Okay.
I think it's time I go and try it. So I went to the division, the business guy, the division leader, and said, hey, I've always wanted to start a company. If I'm ever going to do it, I should do it now. My husband had started a company a few years before and was loving life. I thought, I think I'd like to go try that for a while. Oh. And in order to do that, I know that he had a business project that he was kicking off. And the whole thing was going to be looking at their business processes from beginning to end, looking for ways to reduce duplication, improve efficiencies, etc. He knew as part of that he was going to end up having to lay off some people. They were really going to restructure the division. And I told him, I'm interested in starting a company, and I'm going to leave. But in the meantime, you need somebody to manage this as a project for you, and I'd like to come over and work for you. And so he said, yeah, but what will I give you at the end? And I said, no, you don't understand. I'm going to leave. I would just value the experience, and you would get what you need as well. And so we agreed to that. He called my boss in London and said, she's not going to be your CIO anymore. She's coming over to do this for me. And so I did it. It took me about 8 months. And, he said, no. And I said, then if I'll do you one better, I'll put you on the list of people to lay off so you get a severance package when you leave.
Oh,
so that was our deal. So I left, got my package, and to start my company. That happened in September 2008. Do you remember what happened in 2008?
Too well. I was trying to forget about it.
All hell broke loose, right, with the stock market. It was like the worst time ever to leave. But in spite of that, for 3 years, I did some really interesting things. I helped companies that were looking for a CIO. Find the next CIO. I worked as interim CIO role. I helped evaluate IT departments, start up a PMO. Just different things. Worked on different projects here and in other places.
That
was my consulting company. I did work for a Bermuda company for a while, and then find their next CIO. But anyway, I was having a great time. But then someone called and said this little company called American Bureau of Shipping is looking for a CIO. And that you might be interested in it is they want somebody to come in and modernize everything. So they say they're stuck in the 80s. They want somebody to come in and just do a full sweep of technology. Man, I could not resist that job.
Nice.
To the project manager.
The project stuff, transform all that, right?
Exactly.
That's a good one.
So I joined ABS, interviewed, got the job, and joined them, and stayed there for 12 years. We got everything done that I was planning to get done. And
So that's a nice time, man. That's a good time. 12
that's
years.
a good tenure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, digital transformation and that buzzword and stuff like that. Let me ask you first about that. Well,
Yeah.
what do you think is misunderstood about digital transformation?
Listen, there's a lot of buzzwords, and for a long time, that was the buzzword. And my CEO, I reported to the CEO, he got caught up in that as well because he read periodicals. And so he created a role for a chief digital officer.
Really? Wow.
Yes. And it was not an IT person, it was a business person. He hired someone to fill that role.
CDO
No, is it?
No? Transformation?
Chief Digital Officer.
Chief
Sorry.
Digital, okay.
I called it a Chief Digital Officer, CDO. Yes. And that guy probably stayed in that role for a good 3 to 4 years, but I don't think it delivered the change that, our CEO is expecting. I think they're looking for a silver bullet, something that's really going to move the needle for the business. Yeah, we did some cool things. We partnered together and modernized all the platform. At the end of the day, what is, digital transformation? It really is just modernizing what you have and leveraging it to accelerate your business plan, whatever that is, right? Because it's an enabler. All it is. IT is that way, just like AI. AI is an enabler of your strategy. So how you choose to use it is up to you. Ignore it, or you can really benefit from it.
Yeah, and this one, how do you feel about folks that ignore this wave? I mean, not a wave, but like this revolution, you want to call it.
I think this is a big one. I don't think this is just hype. It's not like digital transformation was a big buzzword. Blockchain for a while was a buzzword. My CEO kept asking me, what's our blockchain strategy? What's our problem that warrants a blockchain strategy? That's, it's technology. Is a technology looking for a problem, or do we have a problem that this technology applies to?
That's right.
But AI is different. AI is different than other things and I consider it as, even a bigger step than the one we took when we didn't have the internet and the internet came along.
That's right.
Do you remember that? And do you remember, people were going around back then, they came to Exxon and they told us, if you're not on the internet, if you're internet presence, within 6 months, you're going to go out of business. And the people at Exxon just laughed at them. Like, dude, we drill oil out of the ground.
Yeah, you know what we do?
We don't sell oil on the internet.
Yeah.
But
you don't put that in your cart.
It was laughable, but at the same time, they were trying to say you really need to do business via the internet, and you will be doing it. And I don't think we quite got it at Exxon in the beginning. We didn't understand it. All we knew was when you got on the internet, you were just blown away with all the pop-up screens that would come up. Remember that, how annoying all that was? And you didn't know if we were going to a good side or a bad side. And, it's quite dangerous.
It's like it was too slow for me. I just was annoyed.
Well, so now fast forward, think about AI. AI is kind of that way right now in that the potential is there. You can kind of see some of the benefits and some of the great things that you hear about and that some people are doing with AI, autonomous robotics, autonomous computing, autonomous cars, and how, AI is really enabling that. That's all great. But what is still in early stages is the guardrails to help protect us from the bad aspects of AI.
Really?
Yeah. And I think that companies that focus on that are going to do very well. If they can provide us those kind of safety measures and tools to allow us to know when something is factual and when something is made up, then I think we'll really start to see more and more benefits from it.
Actually, bad actors were already difficult, right? It just made them stronger, like overnight, like 1,000,000 times stronger. So now, we have to level up and do that. So it's just...
It's a cat and mouse game, right? With bad actors.
And they'll keep on, and we got to decide use at the end. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I don't think that fight will ever stop. As long as this exists, it's always going to be there. So then you have a really good point about that, because I think there is one thing I do notice in talking to a lot of folks and talking to business leaders and stuff is they seem on board. I'm more on board, like on the business. They're not fighting.
With AI?
Yeah, they're like, they want to move, but we're trying to like make sure let's move cautiously. So it's just a matter of like, I think at least change management, I'm hoping be better. You got everybody want to like not be left behind, at least from a leadership perspective. I do see, I don't know how you do with this. I am getting feedback from a lot of my CIO friends, that are saying that some of the a lot of developers, individual contributors are actually against it. Like they're more threatened about it.
Yeah, they feel fear that they're going to lose their jobs.
Which now the business, because back in the day it was like the tech guys wanted to do this, and the business guys didn't want to do this. Now the business guys want to do this, and these guys don't want to do it. Right? It's like, so how do you? That's a big challenge.
Well, the tables have flipped, right? Not very long ago, we were trying to push new systems, and the end users didn't want them because they felt threatened that maybe their jobs would be eliminated with technology, right? Now, those technology pushers are the ones that are feeling threatened by the technology.
Now everybody's a developer in the company, right? Like, what do you think about this whole term now, citizen developers?
Yeah. Again, with guardrails, I see nothing wrong with it. Right? As long as, they know and kind of stay within their lane. I think, somebody said today that I was interviewing a candidate and he quoted somebody else, but I thought it was genius. AI is going to help us be a lot more productive so that we have time to be more creative. And I think that's a positive aspect of AI.
100%. I got to shout my daughter on this one, but she calls AI a thought partner, like, because she's creative. And it's like she can get lost and like just go at it. Like you could take you down. I just feel like it's like unleash like little blocks, like your brain opens up. I look at it like it just helps me get there faster.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, let's keep on going on that one.
And it is like your partner, right? You're talking about also like you get in a room, the traditional way of brainstorming is that you just start bouncing ideas off and putting sticky notes on the wall.
Yellow sticks, right?
Exactly. But, now, and somebody you might not think you had an idea, but somebody will say something, it'll trigger another thought and then it'll trigger somebody else's thought. And all of a sudden you're really coming up with something creative. Well, it's like AI is in the room with you and it's helping you come up with something.
I love it. You're a really good communicator. You haven't been told that before, right? Right. Let me see.
Often.
So let me take you back because I know I get a little carried away. I kind of get drifty a little bit, but after the ABS, right? Accomplished that. What was next?
Yeah. So oceaneering is what came next. Yeah.
So I'm going to guess it must have been how many projects they want you to do because it had to be something triggered about that. Transfer made that to do something.
At Oceaneering?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the guy that had the job before, he was CIO and he had taken on other responsibilities. He was retiring.
Okay.
And so they replaced him with one of the business guys. But then they told him, you got to go hire a head of IT because you don't know IT. And it is, really important to us. And there's a lot that we want to do with IT. So he went out and recruited for a CIO. I, at the time, had already announced to ABS that I was going to be retiring. And so I was going to go back to consulting, do all my thing like I had planned.
Okay.
And I told him I wouldn't consider another CIO role unless there was something that was a perfect fit for me. Well, when I got the call about oceaneering, well, how ironic because it's an energy, but there's a whole maritime aspect to oceaneering. That what they do, it's in the ocean. They own vessels. I come from a ship classification companies. It's like my energy and shipping came together for the job at oceaneering. I decided that I would, speak to them. And the more I heard about the company and all the innovative things that they're doing with subsea robotics and land robotics, autonomous forklifts, autonomous people movers, all that stuff is what really got my attention and drew me to the role was to be a CIO of a true innovation company was what excited me.
I didn't even think about that. So now I have a ton of questions. It's more questions for you, but it might be a little overtime on the podcast, but or maybe part 2 or 3. But I'll tell you, like, I love that. Like that it interests you. Like let me ask you, like, you like to record this stuff like this.
I do.
You take it home, like you like.
Well, I'm not a geek. I don't sit after hours and just play games on the computer and figure out how to do something new with my server. I've never been that person. I'm much more of a people person, and I like to listen to real people problems, business problems, and then think about how technology could help them with that. So, that's why I think I moved up kind of the professional leadership managerial role was that I enjoyed working with the people more than the computers themselves. Computers are just a tool. Yes, it's an enabler.
So you have a nickname like enabler or like, like some people are terminators, some people are enablers, some people like, like That's pretty cool. I love that you described it that way too, because I really do believe that, I mean, times have changed. I mean, I've been in business for a long time, and I've seen like this evolution. Like it used to be like, remember back in the day with the SAP, like ERP projects, right? Let's shove it in there, and you got to change our process for the technology. Remember that, like all this stuff, and then fail and fail and fail, and it's just like I feel like it's just completely said, okay, hold on a second, let's fix us first, right? Let's look at our process first, and then tech is just us people first, process tech, right? It just kind of like all comes together now. Do you think that type of approach, or what would you add to that approach? AI kind of, that takes it to another level. I feel like there's basics, but I feel like we're gonna have to like come at this thing a little different.
Yeah. Well, there's the aspect of applying technology, AI technology, to what we already have, so that it makes it the thing more powerful and more useful to the end user, right? When you think about, for example, our subsea robotics, the way they operate is there's somebody above the water, either on the ship or in an office somewhere, remotely operating that mobile unit that's on the ocean, that's doing inspections or is doing tasks on the rig itself. That's what the ROV is. But if you add AI to it, we've taken the first step where it works more like your what's it called? Your vacuum cleaner that's
yeah.
For people the name of it is,
but I know,
but it's more like that. So the ROV is parked, and you program it to go out every day and do certain tasks and come back. That's the same way that our autonomous forklifts, they get programmed to go move from point A to point B all day, moving heavy things. That's what they do. But you add AI to it, and we're not even there yet, but imagine AI to an ROV where it goes out to do its thing, but it sees something else, and based on the information it's gathered before, it can take different actions or decisions based on just its own learning model. And there's not somebody telling it to do it, it just does it because it's there, and it's learned that when you see this, you do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think like AI, it doesn't forget anything.
You're right.
Right? So like it's and it doesn't stop working.
Exactly. Back to your question, it's like, what about the people aspect of it? You're asking me, are people going to, what's the journey for a human with AI? I think it's going to vary, depending on what your job is. You can either feel threatened by it, or you can look at it as, this is going to free up my time to do certain things, and it's not going to replace your thinking. It's only going to do what it's been programmed to do or what it's been trained to do based on certain things. But it's never going to have your conscience. It's never going to have your integrity. It's never going to have your rationale, the way that you think.
But instincts, right?
Yeah. I mean, it may act like it has instincts based on things, but it's certainly not going to have kind of instincts you and I have. So I think people, instead of feeling threatened, they should skill up, take on additional skills, learn more about AI, and then use it to their benefit and actually sell themselves as somebody that's an AI enabler. The opportunities are there.
And it's like, that's the first thing I would tell anybody right now, like skill up. I love that term. And because I think people need to own their own self-development instead of waiting for companies. Just go get it. There's so much available now, free. All these companies, they want you to all the big tech guys are offering so many certification courses for free. It's mind-boggling. I'm like, it's available more than ever. So I'll do something. Yeah. My chief AI officer, what he does, he goes, I copy his terms. I copy everybody's terms, right? So he goes, I look at it, like, you like put an Iron Man suit on. An Iron Man suit on. Like, you get special power. Now you're already good. You already you're a practitioner. Embrace this stuff. It's just going to be that enabler. It's going to make you 10x, 100x. It's going to make you that much better, and it's like, I think it's opportunity. I can't even think of a word. I think it's just so tremendous. It won't stop, and it just keeps on changing.
But there are people who can do that. And there are other people that just don't like change.
Yeah.
And as leaders, I'm sure you've been through it as a CEO, when you make a turn in your business and you're moving to either a new technology, a new direction, there are those people that are right there with you they want to go with you. And there are those people that are going to be mad about it and going to miss the old days and tell you why it's not going to work. And those people eventually have to find their own way. somewhere else. And it's the same thing with this technology. You're either going to be the people that embrace it, that want to learn more and make it useful for themselves, or then be people that are just going to give up and say, I'm not it. I'm just going to stay over here in this little corner and keep doing what I was doing until they tell me I don't have a job anymore.
I think right.
And that happens sooner than later.
That's the, change is, me is I look at it as a strength. I think that if, I always try to talk to my team members. We have time. Well, I said, make change and strength. Get that, adapt. And, entrepreneur, you had companies, a couple companies, right? So like, you understand, like you have to have a lot of agility. You have to pivot. You got to you can't say, well, I don't know if I like that. You don't have time for that, right? So what's on that?
It's responsibility.
Oh yeah. It's appreciation. If you've done a business before, you know what I mean. Like, you're responsible for a lot of people's lives, like truly, and it's like, I take that really serious, So let me ask you this. So this is, you're like a big family.
So I'm going to say, I've kind of been all over the map.
I know.
But you wanted to ask me what
I love this stuff.
What the career path is, or why would I advise people?
Oh yeah. So what I like about this job, it's like, these are all super cool. Don't get me wrong. But what I love about it is because it's so robotics. You're talking like, so we heard picks and shovels and all these different things. Are you guys looking like mining as well, or is it just servicing equipment?
Primarily with three. It's not just servicing equipment. We do a lot of inspection work.
Mm-hmm.
We perform operational tasks, like maintenance tasks with the robotics, but we do repairs. We inspect pipelines. We ocean floor, fiber optics. Whatever you need. In the past, we started out as a diving company, and when a diver might go down to do, we now utilize a robot to go and do it for us. It's controlled from above. So that's one of our primary businesses, is subsea robotics. But we do other inspection management services. This is one of our divisions. We do a lot of work. We have a segment dedicated to the government. We do a lot of Navy, for the Coast Guard.
You're close to me. No, Navy, right?
No, I didn't know that. Oh,
it's in the Navy.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
My brother was in the Navy. My oldest brother.
God, where was he stationed?
Yeah. He's a lot older than you.
Yeah.
But it's Intrepid, which is now,
New York.
In New York.
Yeah.
He was on that ship for almost 4 years.
Wow. Yeah. So he did tours. He did tough tours. Well, I hope he's good and thanks for the service. They appreciate that. Trust me. More than you get to appreciate the service later in life. I got out in 94. It was good. I was on a USS Carl Vinson, but I was stationed in San Diego. And it was wild because I was actually upset about it. So I'm from New York. I put it off like East Coast and they named me San Diego. I'm like, what? Where's that at? Like, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm like, what is that from? And then I got there. I was like, oh, this is nice. I had the best duty you can imagine. And I went to Mexico every weekend. And I would never let my kid do that. Right? I was doing it, but we drove in packs. Still not recommend it, but great experience. And, those things, I love paying respects to the military. I love hiring military. I want to be able to, I think it's an untapped talent pool that you will get people that are really disciplined, especially coming right out of it, hungry and not afraid of work. You work a lot of hours. They don't stop working. And if you're deployed in a ship, it's never days off. And you're working about 16, 18 hours a day. So there's nothing else to do. So you feel like outside the gym and eating, you go back to work. I got to sleep a little bit, but I got to go back to work. So it's a phenomenal experience. But I love this because I've been entrenched in the stock market and looking at this stuff, watching stuff. So you mentioned some stuff to me. I'm like, ooh, I love this stuff. Yeah. Let me ask you let me dive into a couple things that I just want to get your perspective on. Right. So I think so I got to remember my notes, right? I don't have a photograph of memory. Sleep.
I never had one. So
no, but the more responsibility you have, more scope, less sleep. That's what I was experiencing. So I'm trying to overcome. I'm trying to fix that.
Yes, sleep is important.
Let me ask you, so along the way in the journey, what is the mindset? Like, you touched on it, but I want to hear a little bit more. That got you here, and what's the one that will get you to that stuff?
The next level is retirement.
I don't know. You like this stuff too much. You're into the new stuff. You're not a lights on person, right? Am I wrong?
That is true.
I'm not
a lights on person.
Fractional?
Yeah. Pre-retire? No, truly, I probably will never stop working. Yeah. Even when I leave, retire promotion, I just enjoy it. I enjoy working with people. I enjoy working with technology.
But it's got to be really tough, though. right? Because if not interested, right, it's got to be challenging.
I had to believe in it too. It had to be a good service, a good product, or forget it. I'm not going to sell it.
So if I take you back though, right, because I get the next, I love that. And I think by the way, there's such an opportunity for fractional more than ever. One thing that's cool about my job, I get to observe a lot and see a lot. And I think because of so many different companies are being born, so many, like there's records of like so many LLCs, actually by record numbers more than ever. So there's a lot of AI opportunity everywhere, and a lot of people don't need a full-time, right? So there's a fractional world out there for paying forward opportunities out there because they need experienced voices, people that have the scars, right? That can help them guide, and it's like if I'm an investor and somebody, I would make sure if I don't see that, I would say, we need to engage with, like, you don't need full-time, but like you need to have insurance policies.
Somebody that can help you and guide you.
Interns.
Sure. I would love that.
That I can see on there. Can I be agent?
Sure.
So back then, like, cause I ain't gonna take it, you hit me on a personal level.
Okay.
It wasn't easy growing up for me, right? So like, it was difficult, all that and hardships, right? My mom, and I was kind of the one for her, right? So, what was the mindset you had to have to kind of overcome early stages into all that kind of stuff? Because everybody can have like, they could feel sorry for you, or you can stick out, or like, what was me, and all that kind of stuff. I saw it like in my own life. What was that mindset that drove you to do that? Because this is an amazing career.
I think you're born with something or you're not. Because I think my sister, who's my best friend, she's 2 years older than me. When we were in school, I was always extremely competitive. I had to make straight A's or I'd be really upset. I had to, win the math competitions or I'd be upset about that. It was just very competitive, and no one was making me. No one was pushing me there to do that. I'm the youngest of 7 kids. They were tired.
That's it. I'm done. But the baby too, right? So we had a lot of people. Your brothers, Matt, like
too many. It's like, whatever. Just go to school, do well. But I think my sister and I were treated the same, but she just didn't have the sort of ambition or drive or competitive nature that I had. She was happy with a C. I was mad if I didn't make anything but an A, So
you got less than an A. You can't, like, don't talk to Maria today. She's upset.
And it's something that, I don't know why, it's an OCD part of my brain, but it was always really important to me to do well. Even, when I went to high school, like I said, I should have gone to college, but I chose to get married instead. And there's a long story behind that. I was in my third year of college before I ever made a B. And a friend of mine that would say, you need to make your first B so you can see there is life after a B.
I'm looking, you probably actually took the class over just to like say, prove a point. I'm going to get an A. It probably crossed your mind, at least.
Well, there was one time when I was completely overloaded. I took way too many classes, with the responsibility of children, and that I knew I wasn't doing well at class, and I went and begged the professor to just let me drop the class because I wasn't going to be able to give it what I knew I could. And he was, kind enough. He saw my grades and was kind enough to just let me go. And I took it the following semester. So I took it the following semester. But
wild guess. Got a name? Yes, right. If I was a betting person,
I was focused.
Oh man, you smoked that test, right? I love it. But so you're doing all this full time. Did you work too?
I was working as well. I was going to school as a full-time student. I was working as a computer programmer. I paid for daycare.
And paid for daycare.
To bring the kid. Actually, my son was staying with his dad, and I had him on the weekends, and my daughter stayed with me full time. But just putting her to bed and then staying up and studying after that. Yeah. That was that was the only time I had.
I love this.
But anyway, it's not miraculous. A lot of people have done it, but like you said, when you focus and you want something, you don't quit until you get it.
Part of you was it also for me at least, it was now I work hard for I want to show my kids that this is how you need to do it. A bit of that, I got to show my daughter and my son that no matter what obstacle or challenge it is, you can make sure it happen.
Yeah. I think I've shown them that.
I love it. That's amazing, by the way. And I just want to amplify that a little bit because it's personal to me. And I thank you for sharing that. That matters a lot.
Thanks for caring enough to ask.
No, I think that's huge. And I love it.
Don't often get asked, how did you get here? It's
I love this part. This is the fun part to me because, like, see, it's a stressful job. It's not easy to get there.
Yeah.
And you've been there. How many times have you been a CIO now?
I've been a CIO now 20 years.
20 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's not easy.
But I started my career late, and I went back to school in my late 20s. I tell people all the time that I meet, you're never too old to go back to school or to learn that, hey, you're trying to learn, or to change careers. I have quite a few people that reach out to me and say, how do I get out of my job? I want to go in this direction. Tell me what the path is. I want to be a CIO. What do I need? I'm an architect. How do I get to the CIO job? So I love talking to that.
So you pay for it.
Yeah.
Good for you. You're like tailor-made for next month. You have such a beautiful soul. I mean, it's awesome. You're a good person.
Thank you.
You're a very good person. Wow. Balance, let me see. How are you? You probably touched a little bit, but I think this will go a little different. How are you balancing the pressure to drive AI adoption with the need to maintain security?
Security is paramount and is the most important thing. And you've got to have the right people and the right tools to protect yourselves. But we have taken a conservative approach to Gen AI. So on the AI side of it, with the technology, we're pushing forward, and we've been doing machine learning for a while now. And so that's all cool. Got our chief engineers all over that. But on the Gen AI side, when it became very popular, we decided that we needed to take a conservative route because we were concerned that our intellectual property or, secrets would get out and be added to the learning models inadvertently. I don't think any employee would do that intentionally. And at the same time, we didn't know how vulnerable these tools might be. So we took a conservative approach, adopted Copilot as our Gen AI tool of choice.
Okay.
And even then, we started with what we called a pre-pilot, and we asked HR and legal to be the only ones that would be part of it, so that if they were able to extract information that was PII or sensitive, it's okay if they saw it because they have the privilege of doing that, but no one else would. That kind of showed us if we had a real problem with our data repositories and our document repositories. And they did find some things, so we created this little project called Clearing the Path for AI. We started going through all our repositories like SharePoint, making sure that they weren't over-provisioned and that they weren't sharing. While we started in the pilot after the pre-pilot, then we went with a pilot with a little bit bigger, maybe 80 people that were part of it, so we could try it out and see if there really is value to it. And now, we're still not out to the whole company. We've got maybe about 1,500 licenses. And if you feel like you need it for your job, it can make you more productive. There's a business case to be made for it. We ask people to fill out a form, submit it, and they'll get a license. Because it does cost. It's a monthly fee for each user.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We have, we jam about that a little later,
but we blocked all the others. Other than Copilot, we blocked the others at the firewall. No. And if you want to use those things that I do, I have a personal phone that doesn't have any connectivity to Oceaneering at all. Mm-hmm. And I use ChatGPT on it. I like to compare it to Copilot, just for fun, but I'm not touching Oceaneering's.
Yeah, you're not in that walls in that Oceaneering.
No, at all. So we are taking, at some point, I think, I was interviewing somebody today for the AI governance job. One of the, things that we talked about is that at some point, it will become operationalized. And then after that, it'll become normalized. I mean, it will become the thing that we use, just like email. Yeah. At one time, not everybody had email. Now everybody has email. It will get to that point. But I think the development of tools to help protect us against bad things that could come with it are yet to be developed. And we'll adopt those over time. But we're just taking a more conservative approach.
You run a small company.
No.
And it could be, I'm sure there's regulatory issues. That's another thing that you have to manage too, right?
We do work for the U.S. government, so we have ITAR data, CY data. So we have to be careful.
Then you go.
Then we're global.
You're everywhere, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Wow. Does your job demand a lot of travel?
It isn't demanded, but I do travel from time to time to our offices. We have offices in Brazil and Norway. We have a big office in India.
Okay.
So I've been to several places. Yeah.
Been down south, Latin America?
We have, like I said, we have big operations in Brazil.
Okay,
so I've been there. The other Latin American countries, we don't have as much of it.
No. Yeah, I love going to, we have like our nearshore hub
Mhm.
Is it Colombian, Medellin, Colombian?
We should talk about that
Yeah.
because I am interested in, starting up some nearshore capability. I'd like to have, we'll look at Brazil,
I can
but I'd
tell
like
you
to
the
have
do's
maybe
and
some
don'ts.
that are close.
I can tell you that. There's a lot. We've been doing it for like 5 years and we learned a lot. And that's something that experience I love sharing with anybody. We're in Costa Rica and also in Honduras. And strategically, I'll review a little later with you.
Okay.
But this is about
Great.
you. This is about you. We'll let it down. But all right. So a couple more. So you already went over that one. I love that. So how do you approach, like, this is a real problem, like people, like, not that people problem, excuse me, I say that wrong, right? Talent shortage is real. How do you, like, that's another job in itself. What's your game plan? Like, what's work to you? Like, how do you attract it? How do you keep people? How do you compete with big tech? They're throwing insane money to researchers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like more than founders. It's like insane. Like, man, like, is this $1 billion? I mean, it's really like $1 million, like $100 million package. It's like, I feel like it's like the MLB or like this guy signed for 700 million. I'm like,
Really? Where is that job? Let me go to that.
we'll talk that one a little later. People are like, nah, I'm not ready to retire yet, right?
I changed my mind.
But there's seriously like the Meta
Mhm.
and all that big ones, right? So you got Meta, you have Amazon, all these they're throwing massive.
Also, it doesn't surprise me. But there are other industries where,
Mhm.
the technology staff has been cut. I don't know. I think they're looking for niche sets of skill sets in the AI specifically.
I think they're kind of like
But-
kidnapping from each other or something, right? But some of them, it kind of backfired. It's not all about money. Like 100 million, I don't know, tolerate a lot. It's like somebody said, would you fight Tyson? How much? Like, I just got to run around, right? I ain't got to sit there and let him hit me. I'll get in there. How much? 10 million? I'll do it for less. But you see what I'm saying? But people are actually taking those jobs and it backfired matter. They actually resigned and went back to OpenAI. I'm like, it's just.
Well, let me tell you, it has a lot to do with culture. I don't know those specific examples, but if you're asking me, how do I attract and retain people?
Yeah.
I think the culture is the most important thing.
Yeah.
People need to feel like they're wanted, and they're valued and they're heard. They don't necessarily need you to agree with them on everything, but they need to at least be heard and understood. And you do need to pay competitively. You have to pay what the market is offering. Otherwise, you can't draw them in to begin with. And that's the same in the U.S. as it is in India, as it would be anywhere else.
Oh, yeah.
If they know what their peers make, and if you're not paying them what their peers make, then they don't feel like you're valuing them. They're going to go somewhere else. But the money is just the first part. Once you get them in, then are you giving them interesting work? Are you showing them appreciation? Are you treating them like human beings and that that you respect and value their contributions? Those things are extremely important because if they don't have that, they're not going to stay either.
Even if they get the money.
Even if they get the money, right? And then listen, I always ask people, what do you value most? Things ranked in the importance to you. Is it recognition? Is it title? Is it money? Or is it interesting work?
Ask that.
And yes, I ask my direct reports that. And it is amazing that they all answer differently. And the people you think you know somebody and you think you know how they will rank it.
Sure.
And sometimes you're wrong. So you need to ask.
You can't assume.
Right. Some people just want to be appreciated. They just want the recognition. They want you to tell them that they're doing a good job, and they need to hear it often. There are other people, I don't care, just pay me the money. All I care about. And they show it. And those people go after money-making jobs. They tend to leave for more money.
Yeah.
That is what drives them.
How much does it go? Again, we're having this conversation we just talked 3 months ago. Right?
And you probably don't have to guess, but mine is interesting work. That's what I rank as.
Shocker. Actually, it's got to be interesting, but it's got to be hard, right? Because you won't be interested if it's not hard, right? Challenging. So what about there's different models to hire, right? Because when you do, I guess, when you're strategizing, looking at projects within day-to-day, looking at all stuff with the workforce, a lot of people may not want to be full-time. You still need that talent. Or is that do you have that flexibility?
It hasn't come up as a challenge for us yet. Where people only want to work part-time. I haven't seen that a lot. What I have seen is that people want to work remote. And my team at Oceaniering is, by and large, 100% remote.
100%.
They're not even hybrid. I go to the office a few days a week, and my direct report, some of them go to the office a couple of days a week. But below us, everyone that works from home. And we have no offices for them.
When did that happen?
That happened during COVID. Before I joined. Yeah, they got rid of some of their real estate
Really?
leases.
Smart.
And they said the IT people can do this from home, except for the people that work on the desktops. Those people are in the office, but everybody else, developers, DBAs, you name it, they're all working from home.
So my question there is like, before that, there were some companies that absolutely no, that's not going to happen before that, but it's the way it worked, right? It worked. And so, there's benefits too. Corporate leases are huge and your company is huge. I mean, you're talking like, margin improvement. There's a lot of benefits there. But what about collaboration, mentorship, training?
Exactly. I think those are sacrificed. We know that if we have a project, we need to come to the office to have workshops. We need to get together to collaborate.
So you do get together. It's not 1,000%.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
We do get together for things like that. But, I had an HR person say one time, if you're 100% remote, how do you build your brand? How do they know
That's a good one.
Other than the person that you work for? Who else knows that you're doing a good job? If you're not even in the office and you're not collaborating, you're not meeting with other people face to face, you're not getting to know people, they're not getting to know you, how are you going to stand out? It's harder. It's not that it's not possible. It just gets harder.
Super hard. And I think it's, one of my first episodes we did, and I'll give him a shout out, John Schellenberger, I always do. He's the CIO for John Mansfield in Denver, unbelievable person. He told me, he said, gotta be present. You gotta be present. You gotta, because there's a lot of struggle right now for a lot of entry level, let's say kids out of school. Computer science degrees, 77% of them can't get in the door. That's a big number. And there's a lot of little factors. They say AI, but I don't know if it's 100% AI.
So they're not getting job offers.
No, they're not getting in. 70% of them are struggling to get an entry, get in the entry level because
what a change. When I graduated, I had like 8 offers.
Wow.
Yeah, that was back.
Well, so what title did you have? And again, I can't pronounce the level you got. What did you get again in college?
Magna cum laude.
I spelled that, right? For me, I did not have that. I'll share with you. I've never been to college.
Well, you've been very successful.
Navy was my education. I grew up really fast early, but I just think people learn differently.
I agree.
Yeah, like me, I didn't want to like school, Did
your parents encourage you to go into the Navy, or did you just randomly go sign up?
I said, I signed up for the Navy, I leave. So I went to that.
She said, what?
Oh my God. So 2 weeks before I went, we were at church, me and my mom at church. And when you kneel down in church and like the middle of mass, Catholic and all that, she never got off. She stayed this whole time. I was like, what I do? But it was, she got used to it and stuff like that. But you learn quick when you're that young and you go away, even though I had no choice with the service. There's not a no in the military. You show up, right? So
you're taught discipline.
Oh my God. Yeah, I have some funny stories we'll talk about later. But you learn that I took that when you work with a great deal of urgency. You work a lot of hours. Like when I got out and I started working, they would always emphasize, like I got into tech systems and I got in shout because they gave me the first opportunity. They were emphasizing, are you okay with the hours? Are you sure you got to work the hours? And I'd have been asked that. So after the 8th interview, because they interviewed 8 times, I had no 7 times. And then I said, what are the hours? Like, yeah, tell me the hours already. Like, what is we talking about here? They're like, well, we get here, we have a meeting at 7:30 and you're going to be till at least 5:30. I'm like, that's like part-time to me, right? I was working, when I got the service, I worked at Gold's Gym. I had 2 jobs at the gym. I was doing sales and I was training people. So I had to work 12 to 12 every day and 7 days a week. So I was like, and you get a weekend off? I was like, and then you have a salary? Because I didn't have a salary. So it was I was like, this is a cakewalk.
Your dad got him?
Oh yeah, I did. I said, yeah, we made it. It was so funny. But those things, you take those things, right? You take those things. They do. And I tell these kids today, because our recruiters, and it's a completely evolved, right? Like it's not this crazy starting salary. My first starting salary as a recruiter was $22,000, 1996. And no commission. And you had to, very strict, like blue pants, gray pants, or black, white shirts. Tuesday, a blue shirt's okay. And that's it. And you had to be there in a tie, all right? It's changed a lot, all right? Yeah. But I appreciate that because those fundamentals shape you, and it's makes you harder, and you never know it helps you later. Things become easier. Right.
And you learn to appreciate what you do have.
Oh, I'm blessed. Super blessed. So I feel like remote. I'm like a hybrid guy. Because I think I want to go off.
Yeah.
I think there's a good benefit there. There's flexibility.
I mean, if we had office space, I would have asked. got at least a couple of days. Yeah.
It's interesting. I was really interested in how you thought about talent because we don't do this job. We don't do these projects alone. Talent is extremely should be at the top of the list. Sometimes I get real frustrated about when they talk about these type of services a commodity. And like, how could, if talent is your number one thing, how could this service be a commodity? You have to have the right people, right? And then the right leaders to make sure these people deliver. Have you been asked, I'm shocker, how many times have you been asked to be a mentor?
A few times. And I do mentor a couple of people now.
That's awesome.
I like it.
Enjoy it?
Yeah, I like listening to younger people. I like to help them navigate, challenges that they might be having and just figure out how to get to the next step. So I enjoy those conversations a lot.
Especially when they're, like, I guess, I don't know what I'm looking for, man. You could feel it that they appreciate it.
Yeah.
If they do something like, man, I thought that did work. It's like, oh man, that's great. It makes you feel like $1 million, right? Along the way, right? It's not a straight line. You got to jump that hurdle. You got to do this, right? You got to be move box, bob and weave a little bit, right? What are the biggest lessons you learned along the way?
That you shouldn't take things for granted. You can't assume, you can't make assumptions. Always need to verify what you think you know. Because usually what you think you know is not all of it. Maybe it's partially correct, but it's not all of it. So, when you,
Trust and verify.
Yeah, trust but verify,
Trust,
right? So, and I've learned those lessons in both directions, either for the people that I worked for and also people that have worked for me and things that I've worked on. So for, projects that have gone awry, I would say the number one issue that we had was just a failure to communicate. That was the initial problem. I thought technology is never the problem. And I honestly believe that there are wrong decisions and bad decisions. You can make a wrong decision even if you're fully informed. You operate with the knowledge you have and you make the best decision, and sometimes it ends up being the wrong decision. We've made mistakes. Hey, I'm sure you've made hiring mistakes. I have too.
Thousands.
But you thought you knew the person you were interviewing, it wasn't maybe turn out to be that way. But a bad decision is when people are telling you the facts and telling you what you need to know, and you ignore it, and you still, go in a different direction because you think you know it all. That's a bad decision. Or you listen, you're listening to the wrong person. You put your trust in the wrong person. That can lead you to make a bad decision. So yeah, the lessons learned are that you always need to verify. It's not that you don't trust people. It's just that you really, before you jump the gun, just step back and listen and try to collect all the data. One of the best things that BP ever did for me was they put me through a course that they selected. They used to have a program for this, and they would select 10 people across the entire company that they would send to a leadership development course called Leadership for Collective Intelligence. And it's a 1.5 year long program.
1.5 years.
You don't go all year long. You go meet with your cohort about 5 times over the course of that 1.5 years. You spend a week with each other talking about leadership. And then you've got a lot of homework to do in between. But the reason that it was so important and valuable to me and what I learned from it is that we as leaders make better decisions when we bring our group together and listen to all the aspects of the argument. And then you as a leader are expected to make the call. You make the call then. But A, you've heard all the data. You didn't just jump the gun. And 2, people are going to embrace them because they're going to feel heard. Even if they don't agree with the decision, they feel heard.
Oh.
And they're going to be more likely to align with whatever decision you end up making. So that's something I've tried to practice as a leader that I've had, is to make sure that all the voices are heard.
Thank you for breaking that down like that.
A little flip side to that, where it's happened more than once, but I learned eventually you make a mistake twice, you don't make it again, is
Amen.
You get the information, of course, but you also need to listen to your instincts. And that really is important when you're interviewing people, right? The person may sound good, everybody loves them, but if your gut tells you that they're not the right person, it's not going to be a good fit. Something's telling you, gnawing at you about it, you need to listen to it. Because most of the time you're right.
That's so true, though. How many times, I don't even like the number, but like, in a situation when I regretted a few things, like my gut told me, talking to myself in the car like I usually do. And I'm like, why? I mean, you knew it just happened, I guess. Pressure, or maybe just like, or how about situations where, if you don't mind me asking, you're given a data, you have to move against that decision, who's the right decision. And we don't know if there's a right outcome yet, but people don't want to jump on board and gave you the different. How do you manage that?
So there have been times when, I think if you're in the CIO, well, sooner or later, you're going to be up against where you're just going to, you have to make the call, and you got a lot of people that are naysaying, right? Let me give you an example. A few years ago, I felt like it was time for us to move to the cloud. It was time to embrace the cloud and just start modernizing our apps, moving them to the cloud. And I started asking my head of I&O to come to me with his cloud strategy. I wanted a cloud strategy. I wanted a cloud roadmap. And he kept coming for probably the next year, kept coming to me to convince me why it was a bad idea, why there wasn't a return on investment, why our costs were going to go up significantly by going to the cloud. It's just not a good move. And I finally got to a point where I said, we're either going to do this, we're doing this, and here are the reasons why. And this is what I'm going to share with the business of why we're doing it. Are you on board or not? Because if you're not on board, I'll find somebody that is. And he finally said, fine, we'll do it. But I think we were a little late to get to the cloud because he was just so resistant. Looking back on it, it was the right decision. And I probably shouldn't have put up with his delays for as long as I did.
Yeah, I know the scope of it when you mentioned a year, I was like, that's. I mean, it's a big decision. It's a big decision.
It was a big decision. It kept bringing me all these numbers of how we're going to end up paying more. But
you got to look at that.
Yeah, you do. And I'm like, well, maybe you have a point. But then, the more I learned about it, the more I read, the benefits to me started outweighing. And then I had to sell him on it and say, look, we're going for these reasons. Yeah. And that's what I'll share with the CEO. And so,
wow.
We're going to do it.
and made it happen. That's good.
And he was getting some of his traditional guys on his team were all against it as well. And so we ended up having to lay off half his team. They didn't want to learn anything new. They didn't want to learn the cloud. They were comfortable with what they did. And, they were resisting. So therefore he was resisting. And we just said, okay, we need cloud skills. All the new apps that we're writing are going to be written to run in the cloud. So are you going to learn it or not? So, he's like, okay, well, we'll still be friends. You just don't work here anymore. It's your package. Wow.
Do you get any Christmas cards from them? No, I doubt it.
Interestingly enough, I did have one of them later come back and ask me for a job. Said like he'd made some mistakes and, wanted to come back. And I didn't have an opening anymore, unfortunately, but.
Oh, so you mentioned something about comfort. Let me write that down. So
comfort, yeah.
That's a dangerous one. Like, that's where, the status quo anymore is just like, that's not cool. Like, you can't just live like that. Like, in business, it's hard to be competitive if you're just okay. Yeah, look, it's cool to be working from home. I get it. But like, let's say in my world, sales or business development and that world, you have to be involved. You have to build relationships. You have to make sure that you're not just relationships, but you're actually understanding, do your homework. And understand the clients, probably be proactive, be a partner, not a vendor. Right?
Exactly.
You can't do that at home.
Right.
You could do parts of that from home. So yes, it's comfortable, but like, I feel like if they're not doing that, what do you call it? Single point of failure. And I feel like, I don't know, when you're an entrepreneur, you get to, I guess, live uncomfortable, like forever. That in the space. You live in this like balance because you can't be comfortable and succeed. At least if I'm not entrepreneur, but it can anything. Think about it. Right? If you're not innovating and you're not looking at this stuff, you have a fiduciary responsibility, right? So how do you manage that? Like, 'cause when you have that comfort, you have, let's say, you have a large organization, you have this group or comfort. How do you keep everybody on their toes?
Yeah. Well, there's this thing called performance management. And it's our way of telling people.
That's right. You got a lot of degrees, so.
No, it's, at the beginning of the year, we lay out goals, and every individual has to lay out what their top goals are for the year. And that includes work that they know that they're going to do for the business. It includes self-development roles. It includes leadership development roles if they're in a leadership role. So they have to tell me what they plan to accomplish. I say me, but whoever their supervisor is, my director, have to tell me what they plan to accomplish this year. And then mid-year, we sit down and have a conversation. How is it going? How's it going towards your goal? Are you halfway there? What you've started, what you've not started? It's never too late to change. maybe the business shifted in a different direction and you need to take a goal out, replace it with something else.
Sure.
I'm happy to do that. Just have a real check-in about how it's going. And then at the end of the year, go back and say, did you accomplish all the things that you said you were going to accomplish? And if you didn't, why not? What were the obstacles? And that then generates a grading based on their goals, based on their leadership essentials, kind of the overall performance. At every level, everybody has one. Even my boss, reports to the CEO, does one. I prepare one for my boss, the COO.
Oh.
So I have performance goals as well.
And that's a culture that you have to have across the company.
Yeah, you have to perform. If you're not performing, then it will reflect. It will reflect in the way that you are graded. And if you're not graded well, then eventually you'll be put out of performance. So there are high expectations, and we're not easy graders. I mean, you have to show the evidence.
That's why I look at. I'm a big sports person, right? So I look at these things and I try to relate to a lot of sports. Like they don't have performance review. You start catching the ball, you're not going to be on the field. It's that simple. But sometimes like that, compliance can drive to so many laws, or understand it because there's legal and there's lawsuits and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But like, do you have to really go through all of that if somebody's just not doing it?
Yeah, you do. Even though Texas is a right-to-work state, most bigger companies have a very structured process you have to follow. You can't just say, I don't like what you're doing. You need to walk out, get out the door. Yeah. That's all. That doesn't happen here.
No.
No, not in our companies. We have a conversation. I have had a few, do you want to work?
It's the wording. It's the approach, right?
Do you really want to work here?
Wow. You try to that's part of the job of the CIO. The CIO's job to me is like, it's a big one because you have people say, well, you got all the business of the seat. Antonio, I got to give him props all the time. He said this on the podcast. He said, IT is the business. Name one area that you're not in. I think nowadays, I've heard co-CEO friends of mine, this one guy told me, he said, we are a technology company that sells furniture. So nowadays, technology is their enablement. It's a competitive advantage. So are you a tech company that does a specific thing?
Yeah.
So I guess it depends on industry.
No, but I agree with that. IT is every bit as part of the business as operations is, as finance and accounting. I mean, no, IT has done it. Full stop. You are the business. Everybody's the business.
I like that.
And he was the first person to actually say
right.
that. So
you say you've ever done. You're not done yet. Because one thing I've seen too, that I don't know if you see this trend, but because IT is the business, right? It's evolved so much over the years. Now CIOs have a seat at the table, not underneath, let's say, usually when it's a CFO and it's stuck behind, they're not in the board meeting. And now they're very much in board meetings. And I'm starting to see CIOs become CEOs.
Oh, I've never seen that.
At least a half a dozen times I've seen it. And I'm starting to see board CEO, they're getting into more in the full leader. And then they backfill themselves with a CIO because it's so we need to take what this person knows, how effective they have it, especially the technology company, and put them in those chairs.
I don't know if I aspire to be the CEO of Ocean, but I do aspire to be on boards. I think there is the technology voice is really relevant in that.
Any boards?
I served on the board of the community college here called Lone Star. It's the largest community college in the area. Okay. At the time, we have 50,000 students enrolled. I've probably doubled that now, but I served. It's a state office. You actually have to run for it.
What?
Yeah. Oh. It's a trustee position. Being on the board, it means you're a trustee for 6 years. Actually, I didn't run the first time. One of the board members suddenly passed away, and so the other board members interviewed a slew of candidates, and I was lucky enough to get it. I interviewed for it, and I got it. It's a non-paid position, but it's a lot like a business. I mean, they have a budget. I was on the audit committee for a while. I mean, you get a lot of really good experience being on any board, regardless of whether it's paid or not paid.
The advice I see that I always like to give people that want to do that. It's don't get caught up with getting paid right away. Just get the experience. Get in the door. Just get the experience because it will lead to those things. And you could be on multiple, especially now with this fractional world is such a demand. Fractional has grown so much. It's people rather you hear deals hey, 25 hours a month. Sometimes, and across the board, because It could be a complete different business. It's just they need that voice. They need that, hey, are we going in the right direction? Can you look at the blueprint? Like the just and verify thing, right? Let's say they have a CIO or they have that. Hey, is my roadmap the right way? That would be to me, that's a big value proposition for me as a CEO. Like, I trust my guys. I love them to death, but like, you need a second set of eyes just to make sure,
Yeah.
right?
That's fair.
That's why I see fractional happening a lot. You probably do it like to help people integrate. How big is it? How important is the networking?
Very important.
It's huge.
Yeah.
When did you figure that out?
I think when I was at BP, I started going to the Avanta meetings, which they're not part of Gartner, but it was, like VPs and CIOs were invited to that. And I started going to them and started meeting other CIOs, business unit CIOs, VPs of IT. And I realized this is great. Getting to know other people that are dealing with the same issues I am or that can relate, to what I'm going through. And, I never quit going after that. As far as CIO, part of SIM, I believe in networking. And I advise people to network. I think it's important.
And it's, look, you have a full-time job. I mean, it's very demanding. It's a lot of, do you have a work hour a week at this level, right? You have to just work through whatever, right?
You're just always working.
You always work. You're always working.
Yeah. But at the same time, you have to have balance in your life. So I don't I don't stay up all night for things or, unless it's an emergency, don't call me during dinner. I do have my boundaries.
Yeah. You know what? That's super important. I learned that the hard way. But no, this is great. I mean, Maria, I can probably talk to you for like 3 days, right? Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. It's fun.
How about a fun, can we do a fun one?
Sure.
Like a fun fact. Give me a fun fact. Like, I have one for you, okay? What's a fun fact about Maria O'Neill?
A fun fact about Maria O'Neill. I already told you some funny things, but I play golf, but I don't like it.
Oh, you don't like it?
I play golf with my husband, but the thing I don't like about it is back to my, type A personality. I don't like not being good at something.
It's difficult to be good at golf too, right?
It is. But, I became a better golfer when I stopped caring so much about it. I just started laying more of a life like, I don't care if I do it or not. Then I started swinging it a whole lot better.
That's awesome. You don't care, you just swing. And
it's counterintuitive. Just tried to tell me that. But anyway,
I usually play swing a little bit better when I have one drink. For some reason, I don't know, it just works. I'm relaxed, I guess.
No, I agree with that.
So what would you say, like, if you had to pick, like, let's say, what would be a dream job? I know, you're doing a lot right now. Like, let's say, like, something outside of IT.
I think it would be cool to be in some sort of advisory position, just being part of a group that advises on something, just imparting. Simply imparting knowledge and experience would be a whole lot of fun.
Have you done any type of, content about papers, white papers, and it's kind of like, you have a lot of experience. Have you ever done something like that?
No, not really. I haven't. Thought about it. Actually thought about, at one point I was thinking, new CIOs coming into the role, and I've met a few of them. I've actually helped them, given them templates for this and that, or, like presentations that they've made to their board, shared book of format that I've used. But I've thought about creating like little CIOs for dummies kind of thing, where these are like a little playbook kind of thing. I've thought about that, but I just never have taken time to sit down and actually.
That'd be a good one. If you do it, I will promote the daylights over here. I can tell you that. I like to tell a fun fact about me. A lot of people don't know this, but it's pretty funny. I was, you know about hip hop and all that kind of stuff, right? I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
So you ever heard of a rap artist called Busta Rhymes?
Yes.
I was in his first breakdance crew.
Really?
Every time I say it, I was like, oh my God, I can't.
In New York?
In New York.
I assume you're Puerto Rican?
Yeah.
And did you grow up in a Puerto Rican neighborhood?
Oh, yeah.
So probably everybody was breakdancing at the time, right?
Everybody was breakdancing. And that was like the thing. Before he became Busta Rhymes, he lived around the corner and he would play basketball all the time. Funny guy. And when he started doing this stuff, I was a young one. So he made me try out in high school. I was junior high school basketball. And he said, all right, your name is Scramble, kid. Like, I was like happy to be there. I was like, let's go. So we would go and roller skate and just have little competitions and stuff.
Were you any good?
I was fast. I don't know. I was not that creative. So I kept them I just worked on their strength. I was just really fast and I was really, really small. So they always throw me everywhere. So that's probably why they put me on. And then my dream job, if I wasn't doing this, because this is, I'm very fortunate, blessed with the opportunity to do this. A boxing remote.
Oh, wow.
I love the fights.
Oh, did you?
And I would want to be like not Don King, but like a national cool boxing remote, but like championship level Vegas. I would go crazy for that job.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. They said, but it's not too late. Well, I got work to do right now.